Amy did a really good job earlier kind of introducing you to who Timmy is and what we do. So I'm just kind of going to add on to that with some personal stories. So I'm going to take you all the way back to the fall of 2010. During the first week of my freshman year, amidst a flurry of advertisements for dozens of student organizations on campus, some brightly colored chalk lettering on the sidewalk outside the Union caught my eye. The Timmy Foundation, it read. That's right, I'm so old that Timmy has actually changed names in the time that I've been here. It also mentioned something about global health. I jotted the time and date on my calendar, but as my schedule filled up with tons of similar call-outs, I almost decided to skip that first Timmy meeting. I don't know what made me change my mind at the last minute. Maybe it was my budding interest in the healthcare field, or more likely my curiosity as to who this Timmy guy was. But regardless of my motivation, I'm so glad that I changed my mind. All of us prospective Timmys crowded into a lecture hall in the chemistry building, packed in like sardines to hear some of those board members give us an overview of the organization. They spoke passionately about things like global health and health equity and advocacy and service. Those words were really weighty and abstract and hard to wrap my mind around, but I was captivated by their energy and enthusiasm. It was like they were all in on a really exciting secret. So although I probably left that meeting more confused and overwhelmed than I went in, I knew one thing for sure. I wanted to go back. I wanted to care about something as much as they cared about Timmy. I wanted to know the secret. Now, 4 years later, as I reflect upon my time with Timmy, I realized that somewhere along the way, I learned the secret. I'm not talking about the meaning of life or the solution to all of our global health problems, but instead I mean that somewhere amidst all the grocery drives and benefit dinners and trips to Guatemala and 5Ks and global health symposiums, or symposia, whichever you prefer, I discovered what lit the spark in the eye of those board members on that first day. I discovered how people could be so passionate about abstract terms like global health and health equity, and how they could sustain that passion for the long term. So tonight I'm going to share with you what I believe are the two components to this Timmy secret. Then, because this is sort of like my Timmy graduation speech, I feel I'd be remiss in my senior duties if I didn't leave the returning Timmy members with a little challenge for next year. So, here we go. The first component of the Timmy secret is something I'll call the Timmy transition, for lack of a more creative term. For some of us, it's a single moment in time, and for others, it's a more of a gradual development. Either way, it's the process through which those abstract terms take on a personal meaning. Let me illustrate. The Timmy mission statement is expanding access to healthcare, empowering students and volunteers to tackle global health challenges. That statement does a great job of succinctly summarizing the complex work that Timmy does. But like most mission statements, it's just some nice sounding words on a page. That is, until you undergo the Timmy transition. For me, this happened during my sophomore year. Two things happened that year. I went on my first trip to Guatemala and finally got to interact with the patients that we work year-round to serve. One day in clinic, I met a little boy named Kevin. He was about 7 years old, and he was there with his dad. It was a really crowded, crazy day in clinic, and so they had been waiting a really long time to see the doctor. Amy Berkovitz and I noticed how patient and quiet he was, and we were just amazed, and we wanted to make sure that we did whatever possible to ensure that he had a good time while he was there. Amy had the good idea of blowing some air into a latex glove and making a makeshift balloon. And it was an immediate hit with all the kids. Pun intended, because we'd hold up the balloon and they'd bomb it in our faces. And every time we told them to stop, they would just laugh and do it again. Now, as my tripgoers this year can attest, my Spanish is embarrassing at best. So there wasn't a lot of verbal communication going on during this time. But that didn't stop us from having a great time. And it also didn't stop me from realizing how similar Kevin was to all the kids that I know in my own life. His goofiness and his mischievous antics reminded me of my little cousins or kids in the neighborhood. It hit me, though, that the trajectory of Kevin's life would likely take on a drastically different course. Whereas the kids in my life already had money in their college funds so that they could reach their full educational potential, Kevin might not even reach his full physical height because of the chronic malnutrition that affects so many people in Guatemala. Suddenly, the words expanding access to healthcare had a name and a face. A second thing happened during my sophomore year to help me with my Timmy transition. All throughout my freshman year, I had the idea for an indoor cycling fundraiser brewing in my mind, and during my sophomore year, the fundraising chairs gave me the go-ahead to make this dream a reality. And so the Tour de Timmy was born. Now, it wasn't as lucrative as some of our bigger fundraisers like our annual Glow Run is, and it didn't appeal to as wide of an audience as, say, a concert or a Dine and Donate. Nonetheless, it enabled me to see how something that I loved so much, indoor cycling, could be used to make a difference, however small. And even better, seeing my family members and friends and fellow Timmies rally around something that meant so much to me and pour all of their time and energy into it was both humbling and inspiring. Suddenly, empowering students and volunteers to tackle global health challenges had many names and many faces, and they looked like the people I loved. But this personal connection to Timmy's mission alone might not be enough to foster sustained involvement. Far from rainbows and butterflies, global health work can be tedious and frustrating. We often face a lack of resources, a lack of time, and sometimes even a lack of support from community members who don't understand why we serve abroad when there are people in the US who need help. So this brings me to part 2 of the Timmy secret. The meaningful relationships that we form as part of Timmy Global Health. These relationships provide us with the support and encouragement that we ultimately need to keep going when things get tough and to reach our full potential as global health advocates. In my fellow Timmy members, I've found skilled colleagues, exemplary role models, and best friends all rolled into one. No speech could ever do justice to what these individuals mean to me, but I'm going to do the best I can to express my sincerest appreciation and also not to cry. To my trip goers this year, I could not have asked for a more incredible group of students to go on the trip with. I probably couldn't have asked for a crazier, goofier, weirder group of kids either, but I wouldn't have it any other way. You blew me away with your intelligent questions and observations, your flexibility and understanding when things went wrong, as they often did, your dedication and commitment to making sure that even the smallest tasks were carried out with the greatest care. And most of all, you astounded me with your compassion for our patients, for our medical professionals, and for each other. I think I can safely speak for both Olivia and myself when I say that our jobs as trip leaders often got stressful and overwhelming, but you guys made it worth it. You made us laugh, motivated us to keep going, and in the end, you taught us far more than we could have ever taught you. Thank you. To my fellow executive board members, it has been an honor to serve with you this year. It's been a year of major transitions and difficult decisions, but you've not let these challenges weaken your resolve, dampen your spirit, or compromise your integrity. You've challenged me to examine issues from different perspectives, and you've reminded me that sometimes the hardest thing is also the right thing. So thank you for that. And I have to say a special word to my co-trip leader, Olivia, also my partner in crime and the other half of the P&O show. I could write a book about everything I've learned from being friends with you. It's unbelievable to me that this time 1 year ago, we were just 2 random people chosen as trip leaders, both secretly hoping, oh gosh, I hope I like this girl, because I gotta spend a lot of time with her. I never could have imagined that you'd become one of the best friends I've ever had. You listen intently to my problems and concerns, and yet never hesitate to tell me what I need to hear, which is often not what I want to hear. And with the possible exception of my affinity for One Direction, you accept me exactly as I am. And yet your intelligence, integrity, and grace challenge me and inspire me to become a better person every day. So thank you. So to sum it all up, I was initially drawn to Timmy by the energy and enthusiasm of the board members at my first meeting, and I wanted to find that passion for myself. Over the years, I've realized that such a devotion occurs when Timmy's mission becomes a personal creed, and when you develop those meaningful relationships with other members to challenge and sustain you. But, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to close with a little challenge for next year's Timmy members. It might seem a little odd, but let me explain. I challenge you to increase efforts to recruit members from a wide variety of programs and majors. I know we've kind of focused on this in the past, and it might not seem like that big of a deal, but here's why I think it should be brought to the forefront of our efforts. It's great that we have so many future doctors and nurses and other medical professionals in Timmy now getting early exposure to global health issues. But I think we can all agree that Timmy's shown us that health is so much more than just medicine. And sustainable health care is about so much more than just providing chronic patients with chronic care. We also need to address the social, cultural, political, and environmental landscape that enables someone to become a chronic patient in the first place. And to that end, we need individuals from all different sectors. For example, we need government officials to implement the necessary policy changes, teachers who can educate future generations, and even artists who can raise awareness of global health issues through their work. Thus, we need to find creative ways to start diversifying our membership now. So I leave you with this challenge, and once again, a sincere thank you to everyone who's been part of my Timmy experience. I look forward to seeing where this organization will go in the coming years, and to everyone coming back next year, if you have any need for any sort of graduate advisor, you know where to find me. Thank you.